the first one is I was discussing it with Barb, but she had expressed to me that she was worried about like pushing her convictions on me. Mm-hmm. My question was why, and I don't understand. I mean, I haven't read the commandments, and so that might be part of the missing piece, but why is it Saturday specifically as
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, and then because we were discussing the Sunday law, because I think that's what you guys must have been discussing maybe a couple Saturdays ago while I was at work and I didn't get to hear the whole study.
Sure.
And so she kind of gave me a little bit of just a summary of like the Adventists think that eventually there's going to be a Sunday law, and I had asked her, I mean, why is it specifically? Why do Adventists have to? Why do we
make a contest between Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, when it could be every day. And then that led me into wondering, is it similar to, like, is that commandment similar to, you and I had discussed sacrifices, how they were a symbol to represent Jesus at first, and then they turned into an obligation. And so I'd asked her, has this Sabbath turned into an obligation and it lost its original meaning?
Yeah, good questions. Okay, so let's first refer to Genesis in the creation story. Do you remember what happened there with the 6th day and the 7th day in creation?
And God rested. I think that's what it says.
Yeah, on the 7th day, right? So he goes through this whole creation week where he creates everything a little bit at a time, each day adding more. And then on Friday, he finishes off the creation with creating man and woman and puts them in the garden together. So he created them male and female, right? And then he gives them this gift. Kind of like, we have birthdays. They come around once a year, and we celebrate that you were born and you're still alive. Well, so God gives this gift of specifically the 7th day. Now this was, this was before sin. This was not on a list of rules. This was not about commandments. This was about God, and we watch it happen. Sister White will explain how every Friday in the cool of the evening, which is Sabbath begins at sunset, in the cool of the evening, God would come to the garden and spend all the evening with Adam and Eve, and then all the next day it's Sabbath. So every week as it came around for them, I don't know what they're doing, working in the garden, whatever that looked like back then, but they're doing their stuff. And then on Friday specifically, they would spend the Sabbath time, the Sabbath hours with God. So before there was any sin, before there was any 10 commandments, before there was any of that, the way we spell it out, it was really something to identify. Remember, Adam and Eve didn't get to see creation. Right? Everything was created when they come along. So God made Adam, and then he said, well, here's some animals over here. Why don't you name them? And here's some plants over here. Why don't you name them? But they saw them all after they existed. So God told them the creation story and then gave them this reminder. I am the God who created you, who created the heavens and the earth. And every week on the 7th day, I rested on the original 7th day, and I will rest with you as a reminder of I built all this for you. I mean, there's no bad news in that. There's no, It doesn't even feel like rules, right? Well,
yeah.
So then Satan, one, he hates that this world was created. He hates the method and the timing and the schedule of how it was created. He hated that Adam and Eve were given the gift of this earth, not him. He thought he should be the ruler of this world. So it kind of identifies for Adam's, let's call it princehood, right? So if God's the creator and then he created this planet and he gives it to Adam and Eve and he says, here, this is yours. You're in charge of it. You're going to take care of it. You're going to be my representative on this planet. Well, that flies in the face of Lucifer claiming that it belongs to him, right? But for Adam and Eve, it's kind of like this, I'm going to call it a badge of distinction, right? That connects their thoughts, their memories, their minds to the Creator God, the one who made heaven and earth, who made them, and gave this life to them as a gift. He just breathed into the dirt and made Adam. So Adam didn't have to work for it. He didn't have to earn it. There's no salvation by works in this program. It was purely a gift. Now, Adam could choose to forget about that gift and say, well, I decided I'm too busy. I don't got time to stop on Saturday. Maybe if I get around to it, I'll do it on Tuesday. I mean, he could have picked any of those things, and God wasn't going to zap him for that. That's why in the Ten Commandments, it says, remember the Sabbath day. Remember, that's the intro to it. Remember the Sabbath day. Why? What's important about the Sabbath day? Well, it points us back to the Creator, how he made the earth, the whole history of all that, the history of the fall for us, right? We get to that part. Adam and Eve did fall, and it wasn't over which day to go to church on, by the way. It was over which tree to eat from, which fruit to eat from. And so they fell, and now God takes them out of the garden, and he gives them another symbol. This is the symbol of the lamb being slain, pointing them to two things. One, this is what sin's going to do to you, he told them. And second, this is also what my son is going to come and do for you, so you can be rescued and returned to Sabbath. And suddenly, Sabbath expands now in our understanding from just a day to a concept of resting in Christ. Oh, who is, by the way, the Creator God. Like, if you and I are born leopards without spots, how are we going to get spots? Well, we'd have to have a Creator who could make spots, right? Or you could reverse that if you want to take spots away. But either way, we need the Creator God to do it. So when you and I are talking about, Jesus and the work on the heart and saved, we're talking about the power of the Creator to transform us. For us to trust in that is Sabbath. That's the Sabbath as a huge, massive reality, not just a day. So what's the value of the day? Well, kind of like, if a young gal gets married, the man usually offers her a ring to put on her finger to symbolize something. Or what does it symbolize? When she puts it on.
Their commitment or love, etc., etc.
Okay, good. And the most pure version of that should be his commitment, right? This isn't about yours. When you put it on, he's the one that gave you the gift. I know the woman gives him one too, but let's just talk about the man for the moment. So he's the one giving the gift, and he gives it to her to put on so she can remember that there's someone who is going to, for better or for worse, death do us part, all that whole stuff, is going to take care of her. He's going to love her unconditionally, no matter what. That's what it should be. I know most people don't know that when they go get married, but if we put it in the full context, that's what it should be. All right. The ring is a symbol. I don't know. Do you wear a wedding ring?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have one on. Can you put up the camera so I can see it? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to ask you, if I offered you one I got out of the gumball machine, at Safeway, in trade for that one, could I have yours and I'll give you this other one?
I suppose.
Not really.
I think the correct answer is yes, because it's just a symbol.
Okay, but would you really give it up for a plastic one out of a gumball machine?
No.
No, why not?
Because it's not my original one.
Good. And it's not the one he gave you. It would be one I would be coming up with from a gumball machine, right? And the value, there's no way that value can equal that. You understand that because you understand the relationship that you have with your husband. It's connected to that. So the marriage isn't the ring. The marriage is the relationship. The ring is only to remember, right? Which is why people, when they want to go down there to those taverns or whatever they're not supposed to go, what do? They take it off and they put it in their pocket.
Yeah.
Right? They're wanting to not remember or have anybody else know. So there's this connection that happens to, wow, they know that I'm connected to somebody when I have it, right? Okay, but translate that over to Sabbath. Sabbath is not supposed to be some rules that we made up that prove that you're a good wife or a good Christian. It is supposed to be connected to everything that it means. And do I understand that it is a gift to me? Yeah. If God says to me or you, here's my gift, and if you don't accept it, I'll kill you. Well, how badly do we want the gift? Well, we don't. I mean, we do if we want to survive, maybe, but we don't in the context of a good relationship with Him. So He never said, keep this right day or you're going to be lost. What He said was, come to know me, learn to trust and rest in me, and then learn to Sabbath in me. That's rest in me, right? And I will give you rest. I will write my laws on your heart. Oh, which laws? Oh, all of them, which also includes don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat. Oh, and there's one more, the one that nobody likes to talk about. That's the fourth one. Now, right there, though, if we flip that over and turn it into a Righteous by Works program, we'll wreck the whole thing. So it's important that when I grab onto that fourth one, it is my choice. It is His gift to me by my choice. What is my choice? My choice is that He promised me I can stop from all my labor on earth, like literal go to work labor, and I can rest in Him. Why? Because even if I lost my job doing that, He's going to take care of me, not my money, not my job. I can rest in Him. It's about not trading in the real ring for the false one. At the same time, I understand fully every day of the week is a good day to worship God, good day to read, good day to pray, good day to share with people, have Bible studies, have potluck, whatever. Every day is a good day for that. But only one day is my remember day that I stop and I go, yep, I'm not very good at it, but I want to be a servant of the Most High God, the Creator God, the one who created heavens and earth. And it connects me again in my thoughts and understanding to all that. So why will it ever become a crisis between, and it's going to be interesting, I'm going to tell you, there's going to be some Adventists that won't understand this correctly. And their version of this fight is going to be wrong. What I mean by that is when the government, and here's the context, let me just tell you how this is even possible. You just look right now at all the things people are willing to comply with that we weren't 2 months ago because it's for our good. Like right to assembly, we said, I guess we'll just stay home. Other rights that we were just saying, oh yeah, I guess I don't have the right to go to the grocery store whenever I want. I have to wait in line. Anyway, point is we give those up because it makes sense. Now, do we want to give them up long term? No, hopefully not. Might we be asked to? Probably. Some want to just shout and scream at how evil the government is already. Well, there's not proof of that. They're asking us to stay home and not assemble for our safety. Now, 6 months from now, if it's proven that it's not for our safety, it's for something else, now there might be some legitimate rebellion, right? So this is how these things always change. So there's going to be some Adventists. Oh, sorry, I was going to tell you the reason why I think that it makes sense that would be a Sunday law is take the majority of Christianity, all of which sort of holds Sunday as a special day. Not all of them call it Sabbath. I've met lots of different denominational people that don't call Sunday Sabbath and actually know there's only one Sabbath on the seventh day. I've met lots of those, but they hold it special. So imagine the crisis is like COVID, only multiply it by hundreds of them, add on some hurricanes and disasters and all of that. And the religious leaders will be compelled by the situation of crisis that the devil creates, not God, to say, look, here's the problem. Now we're going to go to our left side of the justice and mercy chart. They will still be teaching the left side. And they'll be saying, unless we find a way to appease the wrathful God, whose anger is against us because of our sin, And one of the things we need to do is they're going to define a united day of worship. Now, will I be shocked if they pick Tuesday? Nah. I would be surprised, but it wouldn't wreck my understanding. Tuesday works, Wednesday works, Thursday. The one they will not pick is the seventh day. And the reason I know that is by watching the hatred that too many have against that, against the fourth commandment itself. Some denominations even remove it from the Bible, like it's not supposed to be there. Why? Because Satan hates that day. He hates that meaning. He hates everything you and I was talking to you about entering into his rest. Satan hates it, therefore he'll make war on it. It's not there because of Catholics and Adventists. It's there because of Satan. So imagine again, not the Catholics necessarily, but a lot of what's called Protestant denominations, Sunday keepers, who band together to call our country and then even our world to join into these things to assuage God's wrath. People will believe that. People will do it simply out of fear. When they're afraid of dying from the COVID or any number of other massive, bigger things than we got going now, they will do it because it seems to make sense. Then there's going to be some misguided Adventists who are going to be over there going, see, we're not supposed to do that. And they're going to be fighting and arguing. And they're going to mow their lawn on Sunday because, darn it, they just will not submit to that beast power thing. That's what the way they think, that's the way they operate. I know that that's a problem. That's wrong. So what's the right response? The right response would be, if they tell me to stop working on Sunday, fine. I don't have to work on Sunday. No, God never told me I had to. If they tell me that I should go to church or go to worship or some meeting, some Bible study on Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday, okay, let's do it. But at those meetings, I want to be helping people understand the truth about God, which will be in conflict with the prophets of Baal. What I mean by that is the ones that are teaching that God's wrath is up and he's coming after the sinners unless we all do something, right? That's the wrong version about God. That's not Jesus. So whatever meeting I go to on whatever day it's going to be on, I want to help people understand the truth about God, which is going to put me eventually in conflict, if I get to be there for that part, in major conflict with what they're saying versus righteousness by faith and faith alone versus the truth about God's character and the gift of salvation, i.e. even the gift of Sabbath. And why will that be important? Again, it'll be like the little name tag we put on that says, we don't worship that God. We worship the creator God, the one of heaven and earth, the one that created in the 6 days, and then he rested on the seventh day. That's the God whom we worship. And his son was Jesus, and here's his character, and he loves you, and all that. See, it's got to be about the gospel, not about the day. The day is just this badge of distinction. I think I'm very confident that it will someday grow to that kind of a contest that's kind of like, I don't know if you read the chapter about, well, no, I didn't assign this one yet. The three friends with the statue of Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue, and they were all commanded to bow down. Satan is always working at slowly building to get away to just invite everybody to bow down to the wrong God. It'll be connected to the wrong character. It'll be connected to the wrong Sabbath. It'll be connected to the wrong law. It's always what he does, but it's always slow and always careful and methodical, giving people opportunity to really believe the lie. And God's people have to be out there, not pushing what day to go to church on, but who the true God is, what the real character of God is. And then they'll ask, so why do you do that? What's that? Well, I stop on seventh day to remember who the true God of heaven and earth is. And there's the connection. And so that's a quick just tell you what it is summary. I do think that it's a problem the way too many of my denominational family, every chance they get, they pounce on, oh, it's going to be here any day. Well, how do they know that? They're making laws about not going to the grocery store right now. They're not making laws about what day to go to church on. Now, can we get there? Yeah. And when we get there, it'll be a head-to-head contest because they make it one, not because we make it one. And this sort of Adventist mentality of needing to make it one out of every excuse we can find, that's the wrong program. Does that help?
Yeah.
So you can read.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I think the way it was in my head is I had just wondered if it was a symbol that had gotten lost along the way, like the sacrifices had, or not lost, but turned into obligation opposed to righteousness by faith. Which I guess anything could be turned into that.
Yes.
I'm doing this out of obligation opposed to.
That's right.
By faith, not just a sacrifice or just a day of worship.
Yeah, Hannah's sitting next to me and she said that's how she grew up. It was the correct day, but it was all about obligation. It wasn't really about rising by faith. And so once again, that's the version of Sabbath the Jews had when they put Jesus on the cross. They got to hurry up and get him in the tomb before sundown. Why? Because Sabbath's going to start. What? What is that?
Yeah.
That's not Sabbath keeping at all. That was the correct day, but a completely wrong.
Side of the family.
Yeah, exactly.
My Catholic side of the family, it's like you can do whatever you want 6 days out of the week, and then on Sunday you have to repent, but everything's fine. Like as of Sunday, you're washing, you're clean.
Yeah, it's all clean. You can start over.
Saturday, yeah, you can go back to being a heathen.
Right. See, and if all I did was give you a different day to go to church on, that'd be so shallow, compared to what you are describing there. Because what I'm giving you isn't a different day to do the same thing. It's about a God and a character of God and a knowing God, to be able to rest in Him, and then a day that connects with that. That's totally different. I wish more of my Adventist family understood this, but there's too many that are still as confused about Sabbath as the Jews were in the time of Christ.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for taking time.
Yeah, that's a good intro. You can read if you want. The law is in Exodus 20. Where did I get Genesis from? Exodus 20 is where the Ten Commandments is, if you want to read it. That just gives you, it's good to know it because it's interesting. Again, a lot of people make rules about Sabbath that aren't in the Bible. I'm like, where'd they get that rule? It's good to read what it actually says so we know what the real point and meaning is. So you can read that, but also Genesis, 2 and 3, just the whole creation story and how the story of creation fits with this loving God, the creator God, and how Sabbath has its original start. There's one more piece I can throw in for fun if you want. And that is the Sabbath also assures me that when this is all over, this war, not the war over the day, but the war over the truth about God or not. When this is all done and the wicked have rejected him fully and are turned over to the result of sin, they're dead and gone, then God is going to recreate the earth. We're not going to be just inheriting a planet that this sinful age wrecked. All the disaster we've brought on the planet already. Well, wait till it gets done with all these, disasters and whatnot that Satan's going to bring against the earth. Well, so he's going to recreate it. And when he recreates it, there's also the promise that he is going to put you and I and all the others back onto the earth exactly where the story started, which is resting in his righteousness, having his righteousness in us, like Adam and Eve did to start with, but with all the history of what went on to prevent us from say this in the scripture, after the new earth. the people of God will come together to be with him one Sabbath after another, one new moon after another, which is just pointing to the whole idea that started in the garden. So it's like, wow, we're going to get through all this crisis and trial. And now Sabbath even reminds me that he's going to put us back. Some people panic about things like, well, maybe we don't want God to come yet because we haven't got married yet, or we haven't had kids yet, or we haven't been grandparents, or whatever, they keep adding more things on there. But God created them male and female in the creation story. He created them and said, it's not good that man's alone. That was before sin. So if he puts us right back to where we were to begin with, it's going to be included that it'll be including male and female. And I know the angels, Jesus said, the angels in heaven neither marry nor given in marriage. With them, there's neither male nor female. But he was basically directing our attention to the angels are happy. They don't worry about those kind of things. They're just there praising God. So maybe if we got there, we could worry about the rest later. That's basically what I think Jesus was saying. Because the question was, if you married this guy and the woman married after 7 brothers, now whose wife is she going to be? And Jesus is looking at them going, you're all dying. You're going to eternal death. So what does that question matter at all about whose wife she will be?
Right.
So he's directing their attention onto something that's important. But I don't think in any way that detracts from those who do come to him, surrender to him, that he will put them where he intended in the beginning for eternity, which is male and female. I'm not saying I know with who. I don't have to worry about that. He'll take care of that. But it will be to be what we were originally created to be. And that's part of the seal or the sign of Sabbath. It's all fitted in there. I can tell you, I've shared this idea of Sabbath with some of my, one was a group at an evangelical free church. I joined a men's Bible study for, I think it was almost a year and a half. That was one example of where I shared this concept of Sabbath. And they sat there looking at me dumbfounded with their mouths open, tears running down their eyes, saying, wow, how come you guys never told us about this before? Well, it's because that's not how it's normally taught. That's, why. But I watched how they saw it fit together with Rise by Faith and saw it as something beautiful, not something to fight about, right? Which showed me that when we present it right, there's going to be Satan's hatred against it, and those whom he can control, they will come with hatred against it. But in the meantime, that's not our job. Our job isn't to find it and argue and fight. Our job is to enjoy it and then offer it and leave it at that. And which is why you're getting the answer I mean you're getting. All right. You didn't have a second question? Yeah.
No, not tonight. I'll wait for another night.
That was a good one though. Glad you brought it up. So you can try to see what you can explain of that to Barb and see if she gets it.
I think she got it. I think she was more worried about portraying it like she was trying to convince me to keep the Saturday Sabbath. That's what I got out of her conversation. And in fact, at one point she just said, she kind of started explaining it, and then she was like, I don't know if I should talk about this because I don't want to push my convictions on you.
Well, and part of it is because she came from, these are just the rules, keep it. And she's gotten rid of a lot of that.
Right.
But still, when she talks about the Sabbath, there's just a little bit of that in there still. And she knows it, and she's not sure how to totally get it all out, which is why your questions and your challenge are good for her, because that helps her rethink it.
And she keeps telling me that. I come with a bunch of baggage. I don't really know how to explain it. Maybe we should ask Bobby.
Well, so you guys could read, eventually if you want to, in Desire of Ages, there's a chapter called The Sabbath. That's where I learned about it. Born and raised in the church, I was 21 years old, and I read that chapter, and I went, oh my goodness, this is not what we believe. So it's very good in that chapter.
Right.
Kind of detailing it out. It's certainly not something, again, that I would encourage anybody to say, oh, I'm excited about that. Let me go beat on all my friends and tell them how wrong they are. No, there's no value in that.
Yeah.
That's why I tell the story about my neighbor who she didn't really know much about the Sabbath, and I gave her basically what I gave you, and she got all excited about it, and she said, "Oh, well, I want to learn to start keeping it. How do I do that?" So instead of giving her a list of rules, I told her, "Why don't you just start by trying to specifically spend time on Sabbath more with your kids, something special, something that you don't normally do during the week. Spend a little special time with the kids. Spend a little special time with your husband." Uh, and she said, "Well, what if he goes to work?" "Never mind. If he goes to work, do it when he comes back." So we tried to make it so it wasn't about putting rules on other people, just what. Anyway, she did get really excited about it. She did learn to enjoy it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when she went to the women's evangelical free Bible study, same church that I went to years before, only this was the women's group, not the men's group, and I had never presented this to the women's group. So now my friend across the street, Chantel was her name, she went there to that study, and after 2 or 3 times, she's so excited about what she was learning about God, they said, "Well, could you share your testimony with us?" And so she starts sharing, "Yeah, I just was in the world and this and that and troubles. And then I started learning this stuff about God." And she's, just talking about it, which was great. And then she said, "I'm learning to keep Sabbath." And she just kind of worked it in with everything else. And it like froze the whole Bible study. They're like, "Wait, whoa, what? You're doing what?" And the leader said to her, "Well, you don't have to do that anymore, right?" And Chantel looked at them and said, "What? Why would I not want to do that?" Right? It just, their question made no sense to her at all because there was nothing rule oriented or baggage about it. And she's still in this town. She still comes and studies with us, now and again. And often she's telling stories about how, again, she's learning how to sacrifice self and be loving and kind to her kids, her husband, work through things. And she says, "And I need to review wrath again. And I need to review," and then she'll comment about, "I got to get back to spending more time with them on Sabbath." And why did she say that? I never brought it up. I never said to her, "Well, your life's falling apart because you quit keeping Sabbath." Right? That's what the other religions do. This is not that. This is about
Yeah.
your ring is meaningful if your relationship with your husband is meaningful. And then you cling to its value,
Mm-hmm.
not because it makes you married, but because of the meaning that it's connected to. That's how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good enough for now?
Yes. Thank you very much.